Alright, we need to talk about Daniel. Hello everyone and welcome back. So, recently I've completed Warhammer 3. I've gotten all the achievements, over 4,000 hours into the game. Now I can actually sit down and enjoy the game. That last achievement, the Wood Elf campaign, was an absolute slog. But hey, we got it, right? And I wanted to talk about some experiences. We're going to have a video on that later down the line. The thing is, I've gone back to revisit some old campaigns just to kind of have a little bit fun with them. And naturally, it took me back to Daniel, the Demons of Chaos, the only lord for the Demons of Chaos, and a very unique one at that. The problem is, his campaign is so incredibly boring, it got to the point that I thought that maybe I needed to turn off the game, and I did. I actually ended up my stream a little bit early because Daniel's campaign soured the experience for me. And I feel like it's something that needs to be discussed, considering that Daniel as a campaign, even though he's incredibly unique, has a lot of major flaws. Which makes no sense considering that so much attention was put into it. There were multiple articles and interviews referencing how much time had been put into Daniel. It's something that definitely needs to be looked towards because the character is cool. It's just more needs to be done and to fix it up. Now you might be thinking, well, that's just going to take time away from everything else. But the thing is, everything needs to be done before the end of the franchise, essentially. And I would argue that not a lot needs to be done to actually fix that up. So let's talk about it. I know a lot of people are going to be complaining about the start position, but there's nothing that can really be done there. There is just like no space. They had to move him up. Remember in the Realm of Chaos map, he started in Norska, but even then, I imagine that there's going to be characters in Norska pretty soon. Well, when the end times happen, if we do get a Nurgle DLC, and it's already congested enough. Even though they moved Wulfric, there's not really a spot for anything else, because Wulfric is technically still there. But I do understand why people complain about the start position. You're stuck between Archaon, which is going to be a problem for you, and also Malice, which is an incredibly tough faction to fight against because, well, Malice is just very, very strong and you are very, very weak. The Demons of Chaos don't really get the ball rolling until you start getting that momentum in terms of just knowing what to go for. I think a big problem with Daniel is that there's no real sense of direction. As soon as you start your campaign, you really have to already know what you're going to do. Are you going to go undivided? Are you going to start dedicating? Because you need to start getting those settlements up and running and dedicate to a certain point. If not, you're going to start falling behind units quite dramatically. Even if you get the first region, it's already going to be a set. So do you start with Khorne? Do you start with Tzeentch? Do you start with Nurgle or Slaanesh? But not really going undivided. And I feel like there should be an incentivization to go undivided. It's just, it's all over the place. There is no real direction for Daniel. Like, sure, that's why people restart campaigns a lot, but there doesn't seem to be a real reason to kind of mix and match early on. And that kind of sucks, because you're already stuck with a limited amount of units. As you can see, as soon as you take your first settlement, you're kind of locked to just like 3 units, right? The Furies of your specific god, a basic demon sometimes, so like blue horrors in this regard, and then the Marauders of Tzeentch. This is just for Tzeentch. It does vary on what you're playing in terms of god. Now, to get more units, you kind of have to progress through the bar to be able to unlock them, unless they're a specific DLC type of unit, or for some reason they're Forsaken, right? So you need to build your way up that way to be able to get them. Even with a tier 1, to be able to get your access to Screamers, you're going to have to push your way up the dedication line, meaning that you're going to have to push a lot there. As you can see here, the first mission was incentivized more towards Khorne, so you can actually get your first units already. But that kind of sucks, because I, in this instance, wanted to dedicate to Tzeentch, meaning that I'm already kind of losing out from not getting the units that I want, where I could have gotten some Screamers, and I could have done a lot more damage. Now, you do have access to a bunch of units, so it's not really a roster problem. What it is the unlocking of troops. It's very different to the other factions, but it is much, much slower. Nurgle kind of has that problem too, but the benefit is with Nurgle is that you can kind of focus getting those troops unlocked really, really quickly, and you'll have a lot of backlog very, very fast. Well, the backlog isn't really much of the word, it's more of a supply. The first mission gives you a lot more glory for Khorne, which kind of sucks because it's already incentivizing you, just go Khorne. You'd want that to be a bit more, well, structured. Maybe it should be 200 for each of them so you can get at least a few more units upgradable or unlockable from the very beginning. Or just like, oh, whatever you dedicate to will then give you 200. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go a few missions in and we're going to unlock something, right? I'm going to go full Tzeentch because you're incentivized technically to go for Tzeentch because of the better items. You actually do become a lot more powerful. So let's do that. I'll be back in a bit. All right, here we are with turn 6, and as you can see, I'm already sieging like the main capital for this minor Tzeentch faction. They've got a really good force because they're able to recruit in a normal way. So they're getting Forsaken, they're getting Zangors, they're getting so much stuff. Whereas I am kind of stuck with like a crap stack. It's mostly blue horrors and then a hodgepodge of random demons. This doesn't work too well. It's pretty awful. My economy's crap in general, and the Screamers are kind of essential because you need something to do some damage. Those blue horrors are not really going to do too much. A lot of players will struggle there, and yeah, the answer would be, oh, well, bring Corn Demons instead, they're magical resistance. But if you're joining in this campaign for the first time, or if you're trying to theme, you're already kind of screwed. And hell, I'd argue that even with Corn, you're kind of screwed because you need to get yourself some troopers, and they are quite expensive, even with the extra boost. I've unlocked the Bloodletters by turn 6, but I won't be able to recruit them because I need to upgrade a settlement, and yeah, I'm going to have to get into some big fights at that point to actually get some cash flow coming in because my economy is totally in the toilet. And the 20 stack is desperately needed early on because you're going to have to deal with not only the Tzeentchian faction, which is going to have unrestricted recruitment for a while and also a pretty strong garrison, but straight after that, Epidemius might turn on you, Archeon will turn on you, or you'll just get everything dogpiling on you. Player bias is still a thing, so this faction suffers from being public enemy number 1 against literally every single faction. Now I've reloaded my stream campaign and it's turn 70, it's been dreadfully slow. I've got pretty much just one army up and running. It's not really that large. I've got a pretty good stack on it, which has taken a while, and the upkeep reduction is really, really good. But in most cases, this is not the best way to go. And it sucks because that means you're not really pushed to go into an undivided route. You have to just dedicate and know what you're going to dedicate off from the bat. And that's kind of disappointing, right? There's a lot of issues that come into Daniel, which I feel could be fixed around, that could not only help to go through an undivided route, but also help you in general throughout your campaign and through the massive slog. It's taken a long time to deal with Malice. Not only that, but at some point Archeon did declare on me, and obviously there were other problems arising. For some reason, Wolfric has just taken over so much of Norska and has pushed into the Northern Chaos Wastes, which, again, Chaos factions need to be incentivized to go down, but that's just another conversation for another day, because it does feel like most of the Chaos factions don't want to do anything, right? So is there a fix to this problem? And I would say yes, and it wouldn't require like a massive rework. There wouldn't be something needed like what happened to Kislev, for example. It's more just pruning of certain things and adding a few others. But there's no need for a new mechanic or what I would argue to be a massive overhaul. Instead, stuff needs to be kind of moved around to incentivize, 1, an undivided style playthrough, and 2, actually making skill points and the glory lines relatively useful. Daniel's skill line needs to be incredibly pruned. There are way too many skills for what it is, and some of them need to just be updated overall. First up, the undivided skill line is just basically some blue line, essentially, and then upkeep reductions for specific god troops, where it really should just be overall flat upkeep reductions for all the different types of demons and mortals that you do get access to, because you do get access to some mortals. The demon-specific ones, like the monogod ones, need to be reduced too. There is so many just freeze, right? It's too much for what it is, and some of the bonuses don't really make too much sense. Like, for example, early on, if you're going through the Tzeentch line, you should actually have some extra boost to your range capacity. Instead, it's melee defense, which, I mean, not really needed for blue horrors or pink horrors. You need some range damage, and there is no real boost to your range damage, which is super, super strange, barring for that of, like, actually, I don't think there's any for your range damage. Daniel should have exactly 50 points, allowing him to be able to get everything boosted up, right? Daniel should be incredibly powerful because he's going to be the one and only undivided demon lord for the monogods. Sure, we do have Be'lakor, but Be'lakor is his own thing and he's a Warriors of Chaos faction. They should make Daniel incredibly powerful, so if you get all the way to the end, yeah, it's going to be like a one-man doomstack. And the buffs overall should affect every single demon, incentivizing you incentivizing you to be able to actually get some monogod style armies, because the army that you start with, which is nice and varied in all honesty, you're never going to see that again. And it's something that needs to be done through multiple sections. You get a lot of lord options because you get the 4 heralds and then you get the 4 greater demons. So that's pretty cool. But the problem is that, again, there's no point to be able to actually do an undivided force. Where here, it should be like the old 8th edition style army, being able to mix and match. You get more bonuses for having, you know, monogod style armies, but there should also be a slight incentive. Unique skill lines for each of the heralds and the greater demons to boost up units from Nurgle, from Tzeentch, and from Slaanesh if you're using a Khorne army. Just very basic. But the idea there is to give them something to have. And this is an actual issue affecting the game as a whole. If you've got lord options available in multiple factions, which we do, the Warriors of Chaos, for example, you can get a Chaos Lord of Khorne, and those can benefit the Chaos Warriors and the Demons no problem. So if that can happen there needs to be that for the Demons of Chaos too. It doesn't feel like there's enough incentive to allow for that. The big issue there is like no upkeep reduction because it uses like the favor system from the Warriors of Chaos, and that doesn't translate because these guys are just copy-pasted over into different factions. But let's use the example here of the Herald of Khorne, right? Being able to have a unique skill line at the bottom, which is going to slightly buff up the units from other gods, not as drastically as they would buff up the units of Khorne themselves, but it's still there just to give you an incentive to go, okay, I'm going to get some fast cav with Slaanesh, you know, some Seekers and Chariots and stuff like that. Get some heavy hitters with the Bloodletters with Khorne, which will be much, much stronger. Mix it up with some range units from Tzeentch and then some durability from Nurgle. Have the 8th edition style army list. Now you might be saying, well, Demonic Glory already does that. And yes and no. This is the problem. You do get some bonuses towards some units, like for example, on the 4th and 5th updates for Khorne there, so like obviously when you go down the line, there's like little markers, so the offerings, the 5th and the 6th actually it is, sorry about that. So you do get some bonuses. You actually end up getting some speed and bonus for infantry and stuff like that, but that is so down the line, it actually takes a while to get in there, unless you're going full dedicated, right? You're missing out on overall buffs because there is no tech line or tech tree in general for the Demons of Chaos faction. So you're not really getting all the buffs plus some red skill lines, for example. The bonuses prior to that administrative, so either there needs to be skill lines for the specific lords to then give you a little bit of a monogod push there, or Undivided needs to have its offerings, which for some reason it doesn't, which is weird because the whole storyline of this guy is like he kind of goes rogue. It's a very similar, but it's other than the fact that he's basically just copying Arthas because the whole backstory for Yuri and the Demon Prince is literally just Reign of Chaos. It's also just taking from Be'lakor's thing too, which is wild because it feels like Be'lakor should have also been an undivided Demons of Chaos faction rather than a Warriors of Chaos faction. Dedication also kind of feels weird here because obviously you get some really powerful bonuses once you switch over, which I think is really, really important, but you get none of that really if you go undivided. In fact, you just kind of turn a little bit meh, which is kind of sucky. There should really be a bit more of a push towards that. Also, it's very heavily skewed towards Tzeentch right now because you've got some incredibly powerful items available to you just from the new, well, it's not really a new event anymore, but like that silly little Intel minigame thing, which was cool. I'm not just kind of frustrating because, yeah, Oni Tzeentch. You'd think that they would have added more items in for everyone else just to kind of go like, hey, you know, you can do this with Undivided. Here's a really cool armor set if you do this with Khorne. Nope, just play Tzeentch now if you want to like get really strong. It's disappointing. It feels like the faction was left kind of half-baked in a sense. And it sucks because Undivided Demons of Chaos are really, really cool. Like, if you go Undivided, there should have been the bonuses that you would have gotten from like the final offerings, but just half them. Just give you a little bit of an incentive to use units mixed up in between all of them. There's too much of an incentive to go into a monogod styling and also use a bunch of mortal units, which kind of sucks from the Demons of Chaos point of view, right? Like, why should I get Champions of Slaanesh with Slaanesh? Why should I get Chaos Warriors of Khorne? Let me mix up the forces. I think that's something that would allow for just a lot more fun when it comes to Daniel overall. And I call him Daniel because of the meme thing, for those who are just like recently joined into Warhammer 3, because obviously there has been a lot of people coming in since like the DLC format changed and you only need one of the games now and all the usual. Now I want to make it very clear, I like the styling for the character, while I'm not keen on his lore essentially, and I still kind of blame Daniel's creation for the fact that we just have undivided Demon Princes back. Which just feels kind of weird considering that they're not supposed to be a thing anymore, thanks to Be'lakor. Daniel is in fact incredibly cool. The fact that you can just build your Demon Prince and style him in different ways is awesome, and I feel like people stay away, because I know that I'm not the only content creator that just says like, yeah, Daniel's fucking awful. And it kind of sucks, because like the game is getting better and better with passing patches, and it just kind of feels like Daniel was kind of left behind. I doubt that they're going to do new items and stuff for Daniel. I think that they were incentivized to do the new items because Intel likely paid for them to do that thing, which, not a bad thing, by the way. Like, a lot of companies do that type of stuff. But it just feels like Daniel is left kind of to rot, and I feel like that's a shame. I feel like more people should be incentivized to play what took them so long to create. Again, they said, you know, there's like 2 million item combinations that you can do with all the items, or was it like 200 million or something? Because obviously it's mix and match, and you can create your perfect lord. It just sucks that your generic lords kind of suck, and in general the faction kind of suffers. I don't think a tech tree needs to be implemented. I just think that the demonic glory pathway needs to be pushed a little bit further. Just adding and changing some stuff around, changing some skill points, and allowing to be like the ultimate Demons Undivided faction. We're not going to get another Demon Undivided faction at all. Maybe they could do something cool with allowing, you know, Be'lakor to be able to go undivided in that sense, but I doubt it, right? So I want to see this faction just be like, this is the pinnacle of undivided demons. This is your Bloodthirster leading just all these horrendous doom stacks together. All these different monsters. Let's focus on Mortal and just pushing as many demons with loads of demonic hordes all over the place. Who knows if this is on the Creative Assembly's radar? Maybe they've just kind of written him off because of the backlash toward Daniel. And I feel like that's a bit of a disappointing thing. I'd like for people to enjoy this faction. I'd like to be able to play a campaign of Daniel and not think, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. There's definitely something that they could do, and it would be great if just everyone was in a playable state. Look at Norska now. Norska didn't really have like a massive rework. In fact, it just updated a lot of the older stuff and brought it line to Game 3. And they feel great. They feel great. High Elves, the same. Slaanesh feels fantastic. I have a little hope. That they'll go back to Daniel, and I'm hoping so. But time will tell. I just wanted to talk about Daniel today because like it kind of frustrated me. And it just feels odd. Like, yeah. It just felt really strange. But how would you fix up Daniel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and start a bit of a discussion. I really wanted to do a discussion-based video because I am actually writing a big review video for Warhammer 3. Basically, like my thoughts after 4,000 hours, going over everything. I feel like Daniel needed to be talked about in his own dedicated video. He's going to be mentioned there, but like in brief. Like I've got a lot of plans, and yeah, feels good to be making content again. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great one. No stream today, unfortunately, because I am a little bit chock-a-block with some stuff that's happening in the back end. And yeah, fun times. Fun times. Looks like I'm getting a little busier again, which is great because I've been going a little stir-crazy since the move. Have a good one, guys. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.